My Corolla's beams barely pierced the thick night as I steered along the twisting lane. Towering pines loomed on both sides, their branches clawing at the sky. The radio hummed softly, a cello piece I couldn't place, just loud enough to steady my nerves. $22 an hour. The number kept circling in my mind, my thumb tapping it out against the wheel. 5 nights a week, 8 hours each. More cash than I'd ever earned, and I needed it badly. My dad's latest medical invoices sat on my kitchen counter like a pile of warnings. Tuition was due in 2 weeks. The bills were stacked like a monument to everything I couldn't afford. The $800 payment due next week might as well have been $8 million given my bank balance. But this job, this strange night shift at Pinecrest Children's Care, could change everything. The building rose from the shadows like a scene from an old horror tale, all jagged brick and sharp edges against the star-studded sky. 3 floors of windows stared down, most dark, a few glowing faintly with amber nightlights. I pulled into the nearly empty lot, spotting only 2 other vehicles, a battered Honda Accord and what looked like a manager's sedan. I sat for a moment, engine ticking as it cooled, reviewing my nursing notes under the dome light. Pediatric vitals, drug protocols, emergency steps, everything I'd drilled into my head over 3 years at City College. I adjusted my thin-framed glasses and checked my watch. 10:42 p.m. 8 minutes until my shift began. The pressure of my situation weighed on me as I gathered my books and water bottle. My mom's voice echoed in my head. "You'll help so many people, Jake. You'll make a real difference." She'd said that on one of her good days before the illness stole her voice, her strength, everything. Before I learned that sometimes all the medical knowledge in the world isn't enough. The main door was locked, but I found the staff entrance around the side, just as the hiring manager had described during my quick phone interview. The hallway beyond was dim, the walls painted an institutional green under harsh fluorescent lights. The smell hit me immediately. That unmistakable hospital mix of antiseptic and something else. Something cold and faintly sweet, like flowers left too long in still water. "You must be Jake." I spun toward the voice. A woman in scrubs rounded the corner, and I knew instantly she had to be Lisa Carter, the day nurse training me. She looked to be in her early 40s. Her gray-streaked hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes carrying the exhaustion of someone who'd seen too much. But there was something else there, too, a barely contained unease that made her hands tremble as she approached. "Yes, ma'am. Jake Rivera. Thanks for staying late, too. We need to talk fast," she cut in, glancing at her watch. "I want to be out of here by 11 . She led me down the hall at a quick pace, her sneakers squeaking against the linoleum. The manager probably made this sound like a standard pediatric role, but the night shift has its own rules. We entered a small break room with flickering lights, a coffee maker that looked older than I was, and a round table surrounded by mismatched chairs. Lisa pulled a laminated sheet from her bag and placed it between us with the care of someone handling a legal contract. "These are the rules," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Follow them exactly. No exceptions, no changes. The kids' safety and yours depends on it." I picked up the sheet, expecting standard hospital guidelines about medication times or emergency steps. Instead, I found myself reading something that made no sense. The rules of Pinecrest night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Rule 1. Your first round of vitals must be done by 11:30 p.m. When finished, you must say, "Everything is fine." Aloud at the nurse's station. It's not for us. Rule 2. The nightlight in room 307 must have a red bulb. If it turns blue, do not enter. Go straight to the supply closet and wait until you hear 3 knocks on the door. Rule 3. If you hear a child crying from the sealed 3rd floor, ignore it. Do not investigate. Turn up the radio at the nurse's station until the sound is drowned out. Rule 4. If you see a little boy in striped pajamas asking to play hide and seek, you must play. Count to 30. If you find him, he'll laugh and run off. If you don't find him in 5 minutes, return to the nurse's station and ring the bell twice. He hates the bell. Rule 5. A woman in an old nurse's uniform may appear, rocking a child in the dim playroom. Do not look at her face, do not approach. Back out slowly and close the door. She must not notice you. Rule 6. If the fire alarm sounds but the lights don't flash, it's not a drill. Gather the children from rooms 300 to 310 only. Do not, under any circumstances, open the door to room 307. Take the children to the courtyard and do not go back inside until dawn. Rule 7. If you hear sobbing from the end of the hall, stop what you're doing. Stand perfectly still, eyes closed until you feel a cold draft pass. She can only see you if you look or make a sound. I read the list twice, waiting for Lisa to smile and tell me it was some elaborate prank for the new guy. Instead, she watched me with tired, frightened eyes, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Is this some kind of legal liability thing? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Like safety rules written by a paranoid lawyer? Her laugh was hollow. I wish it were that simple. She stood abruptly, grabbing her purse and jacket. I've been doing this for 15 years, Jake. 15 years of following these rules, and I'm still here. Still alive. Mostly. She paused at the door, looking back at me with something like pity. The medical stuff is normal. Patient charts, med schedules, emergency protocols. You'll find them in the usual spots. But these? She gestured to the sheet. These keep you safe. Lisa, wait. But she was already walking away, her footsteps echoing down the hall with growing speed. A moment later, I heard the side door slam, followed by the sound of a car engine starting in a hurry. Through the break room's small window, I watched her taillights vanish into the pines, leaving me alone with a list of impossible rules and the sinking feeling that I was in over my head. I checked my watch. 10:48 p.m. 12 minutes until my shift officially started, and I was already behind if I wanted to finish the first round of vitals by 11:30. I folded the rule sheet and tucked it into my pocket, telling myself it was probably just a weird tradition, a way to mess with new hires at a place where the work was already tough enough. The patient files were where Lisa had said, stored at the second-floor nurses' station. 7 children, ages 6 to 10, all with terminal conditions that tightened my chest with familiar grief. I'd requested pediatric experience for my nursing program, but reading these files, seeing the treatment failures, the notes about comfort care, brought back too many memories of sitting in similar chairs, reading similar charts, watching my mother fade day by day. Room 301, Noah Carter, 6, muscular dystrophy. Room 303, Emma Lewis, 10, brain cancer. Room 307, Mia Jiang, 8, leukemia. The names went on, each one a family's worst nightmare, each a reminder of why I'd chosen this impossible job. I gathered my supplies, stethoscope, thermometer, blood pressure cuff, and began my rounds. The halls were eerily quiet, broken only by the hum of the ventilation and the distant beep of monitors. The cheerful daytime murals of cartoon animals and rainbow landscapes looked unsettling under the harsh lights, their colors washed out. Noah Carter was asleep, his breathing assisted by a machine that whooshed softly beside his bed. I checked his vitals quietly, adjusting his blanket when he stirred. In the next room, Emma was awake, her wide eyes following me. "Are you the new night nurse?" she whispered. "That's right. I'm Jake. How are you feeling tonight, Emma?" "Okay, a little scared. It gets scary here at night sometimes." I sat on the edge of her bed, checking her pulse, while trying to project the calm confidence nursing school had drilled into me. "What kind of scary? Just noises?" Emma clutched a worn, stuffed bear to her chest. "Sometimes I see things in the hallway, but the day nurses say it's just the medicine making me see stuff." I nodded. "Medicine can do that," though something cold settled in my stomach. "You're safe here. That's why I'm here, to make sure everyone stays safe." I continued through the rooms, meeting each child briefly, taking vitals, making notes. They were all so small, so fragile, fighting battles that would break most adults. In room 307, I met Mia Jiang, the 8-year-old with leukemia. She was awake despite the late hour, her dark eyes sharp with intelligence. "You're new," she said as I checked her temperature. "First night. I'm Jake. I'm Mia. Are you going to follow the rules?" The question caught me off guard. "What rules?" "The ones they give all the night nurses. About the sad woman, the boy who wants to play, and the crying upstairs." Her voice was matter-of-fact, as if she were talking about the weather. "You have to follow them, or bad things happen." "Mia, Has someone been telling you scary stories? She shook her head. I see things. The sad woman watches from the hallway sometimes. She wants to help, but her help isn't good. She pointed to the nightlight near her bed, its red bulb casting a warm glow. That keeps her away. Red lights make her sad, but not angry sad, just regular sad. I finished checking her vitals, my hands steady from years of training, even as my mind raced. Have you told the day nurses about seeing this woman? They know, she said. They're the ones who put in the red light. They told me to stay in my room at night no matter what I hear. She settled back against her pillow, suddenly looking every bit her age. You seem nice, Mr. Jake. I hope you follow the rules. By 11:25, I'd finished my rounds, my clipboard full of notes. Everything was normal, routine, completely at odds with the unease growing in my chest. I returned to the nurse's station, looking down the empty hall, broken only by the soft light spilling from the doorways. I pulled out the laminated sheet. Rule 1. When done, say, everything is fine, aloud at the nurse's station. It's not for us. I glanced around, feeling ridiculous, but remembering Lisa's terrified expression and Mia's warning. What could it hurt? Everything is fine, I said, my voice echoing. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air shifted, like the moment before a storm, when the pressure changes and the hairs on your arms stand up. The temperature dropped, and somewhere in the distance, I thought I heard a soft sigh, as if the building itself had been holding its breath. I was still processing the sensation when I noticed the problem in room 307. The red glow under Mia's door was gone, replaced by something cooler, bluer. My footsteps echoed as I approached. Through the gap under the door, I could see the nightlight now casting an eerie blue light. Every instinct from nursing school screamed at me to check on my patient. Blue light could mean a malfunction, an emergency, but Lisa's voice echoed in my head. The kid's safety depends on these rules. I stood frozen outside room 307, my hand hovering over the doorknob, torn between protocol and fear. Inside, Mia's breathing was steady, no signs of distress, just a blue light where there should have been red. Rule 2. If the light turns blue, do not enter. Go to the supply closet and wait for 3 knocks. The closet was at the end of the hall, cramped and smelling of detergent. I squeezed inside, pulling the door shut behind me. My watch glowed 11:37 p.m. in the darkness. At first, I felt silly, a trained nurse hiding in a closet over superstition. But as the minutes passed, I heard things. Footsteps in the hall, slow and uneven, like someone dragging a bad leg. They paused outside each door. I pressed my ear to the closet door, holding my breath. Then came the sobbing. Soft at first, like a grieving family member in a waiting room, but it grew louder, closer, and something was wrong with it. The pitch was too low, too hollow, like a sound echoing from the bottom of a well. It wasn't the crying of someone sad. It was the sound of something broken, something that had been weeping for so long it had forgotten any other noise. The footsteps stopped outside the closet. Through the thin door, I heard breathing, ragged, desperate, hungry. My training told me someone was in respiratory distress just feet away, but every primitive instinct screamed at me to stay hidden. Minutes stretched like hours, my legs cramped. My shirt was soaked with sweat despite the cold seeping through the walls. My watch became my entire world. 11:42, 11:45, 11:48. The sobbing continued, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, but never stopping. Occasionally, I heard other sounds, doors opening and closing, the whisper of fabric against walls, the creak of a rocking chair. At 11:53, 3 sharp knocks echoed through the closet door. I waited another full minute before opening it. The hall was empty and silent. The blue glow from room 307 was gone, replaced by the red light. Mia was sleeping peacefully, her vitals normal. I returned to the break room at 12:30 a.m., my hands shaking as I tried to open my pharmacology textbook. The words blurred. I pulled out the rule sheet again, smoothing it against the table with newfound respect. These weren't pranks or legal formalities. They were survival instructions, written in someone else's fear. Lisa's terror made sense now. So did the high turnover rate the manager had mentioned. I looked at my watch. 7.5 hours until sunrise. I folded the rules carefully and put them back in my pocket, close to my heart. Outside the window, the pines swayed in a wind I couldn't feel. Somewhere in the building, a child coughed softly in their sleep.